Hi, I'm Andrew Pierce with EPICS. Today we're going to talk about grading in EPICS. So grading in EPICS is really intended to simulate a performance appraisal that a professional would go through in the workplace. So typically you would have an annual review in which your direct supervisor would sit down with you and go over your goals and the things that you're supposed to achieve and tell you what you're doing well, that you need to continue to do well, and the things that you could improve on and the things that you aren't doing as well as you could. And that's exactly how we try to structure our grading reviews, especially at the midterm, where we will typically sit down with every student one-on-one and give you feedback about how you're doing in the class to help you to be able to develop and grow along that path. Your grade in EPICS is going to reflect your documented mastery of the course outcomes, and we'll go over what those outcomes are. But it's important to stress documented. If you do a perfect job going through all the course outcomes and really developing your skill set and you don't document anything, again, it's very similar to if you did all of the homework for a class and then you didn't bother to take the exams. You really have to document this work for us to have something to demonstrate that you've mastered those course outcomes. It's also important that you've completed all of the required assignments or course requirements. Those are pretty straightforward, but they are required. You have to do those. You have to complete your PDHs or professional development hours. And finally, having good course attendance is going to be critical for getting a good grade. So in terms of the grading outcomes, the main things that we're looking for when we grade, the first one is going to be work and accomplishments. This is the progress that you've actually made toward the goals you stated for the project. So whatever your disciplinary contributions are, those are going to show up through the work and accomplishments that you've recorded in the appropriate section of your notebook. The next one is design process, or how well you utilize and implement the design process in your work. So if you just sort of go from one task to the next without a clear purpose, you're not going to have a very good outcome in design process. We really want to see you following the sort of steps toward coming to a successful solution. We want to see data-driven decision making, and you really need to capture the way that you make decisions in your notebook as well. The next one's going to be teamwork and leadership. There's lots of opportunities for teamwork throughout the program, and we will evaluate how you work as a team both through our observations as your instructor in the classroom and in your peer reviews, or how your teammates evaluate you in terms of your teamwork. The next one is going to be communication. This would include both verbal and written communication in formal and informal settings. So you'll have formal communication in your design reviews and informal communication with your teammates and with your community partner. Likewise, you'll have written documentation that's formal in your design document and informal in your notebook. Then the last one is going to be critical thinking or reflections. You'll submit a reflection every week in EPICS, and we're going to be looking for three main content components there, which are going to be, what was the experience you had? How did you connect that into broader learning? And then what would you do in the future? So it's kind of this model of what, so what, and now what. And that's really what we're looking for in your reflections. And we want you to build this reflective way of thinking, because it's a super useful tool for everything you do in life to think through what did I do and how can I learn from that situation and do a better job as I go forward. It's sort of a classic model of learning. And all these things will be assessed via the individual evaluation rubric, or IER, which you will do a self-evaluation at the midterm and at the end of the semester. And then we will take your self-evaluation and let you know where we think maybe you are off or not. And we'll give you that detailed feedback as you go. In terms of the deliverables, or those course requirements or assignments, there's some that are individual and some that are team-based. The individual ones include your professional development hours, your own individual notebook, and your peer reviews. Where at a team level, you'll have your semester plan, typically a Gantt chart, your team budget, the team website needs to be updated. You need to have your design document complete, and then at the end of the semester, a transition document where you're going to let the next team know where you left off. Those are really about it. It's not a lot of individual documents, but you'll keep updating these. They all act as sort of living documents throughout the semester. Your notebooks, again, we mentioned your notebooks are like your exams. If you don't do the notebook, it's like if you didn't take the exam. You can't expect to be successful in your grade at the end of the semester. Your notebook is a critical way for you to communicate the work that you did and the decisions that you made and why you made them to future team members. they're going to go back into your notebook and look for answers to their questions. So make sure that you document them well. And it's going to be there to include, at minimum in your notebook, the work and accomplishments you made in your reflections. But you're welcome to use the notebook as your own tool and add more things if needed. Reflections, we talked very briefly about the what, so what, how, what model, and that really comes from what's called the Cobb's experiential learning cycle, and ensure this you're on the right. So you have some concrete experience, you then reflect on it and think about what did it mean, why did it matter? You do some abstract conceptualization, think through, okay, what happens next? Next time I'm in a similar situation, how could I handle it differently to get a better outcome? And then that active experimentation where you go back and have an experience again and try to learn from it. So you'll do those weekly. They can feel tedious sometimes, but it's really about learning this method of constant reflection to always be improving what you do. So in summary, your grades in EPICS will be calculated using the individual evaluation rubric. I really recommend that you look that up either on our website or in Brightspace and be familiar with it early in the semester so you know what you're going to be evaluated on. Only your documented work can be evaluated, so please make sure you document well. You'll receive a formal midterm grade, but that's not your only opportunity for feedback. You should also get notebook feedback around week 4 and maybe week 12. But your TA and advisor would be happy to give you feedback anytime you ask for it. So don't be shy to reach out to us and ask for additional feedback when you need it.